What's up, everybody? It's your boy Coach T with Chicago Bears 360, back with another live video for you. So if you catch the live or you catch us on the playback, do me a favor. Y'all know what the deal is. If you're in the comments, do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Always going to remind y'all that you can follow me at Bears360_Coach T on Twitter. We live tweeting throughout the day, keeping you abreast to Bears news and happenings with our favorite team, the Chicago Bears. Not a whole lot to get into because not a lot has happened with this free agency period, right? I know a lot of people are disappointed, right? I know you were looking for big splash moves from General Ryan Poles. But Ryan is playing it close to the chest. Ryan said at the opening press conference that Ryan was going to build through the draft, and it looks like General Poles is staying true to his word. He's going to build through the draft, so he hasn't made a lot of moves. What he has let happen is we lost James Daniels to free agency. One of the moves I was very intrigued with, I wanted to see what happened with that move because I have been saying for the last few weeks after doing the video on, what I thought Luke Getsy's run concepts are going to be. Go check that video out. Over 5,000 views, one of my most viewed videos, right? Me breaking down the Luke Getsy concepts based off of his history. I've been saying that Luke was going to go to a gap power system. A gap power system calls for a different type of offensive lineman than just your standard zone read or your standard zone concepts. I know fans like to lump offensive linemen into one barrel or one batch, but offensive linemen, believe it or not, have a unique skill set, right? Your body type and your body makeup makes you conducive for different styles of run concepts, right? So I wanted to see how Ryan evaluated James Daniels based off his body type, because James, to me, carries the stereotypical height for a power gap guard. However, James, to me, was a little bit more heavy than you would like a gap power pulling guard to be. Now, what gave me trepidation, if you will, was the fact that Ryan Poles came out during the press conference at the NFL Combine and said that he was going to give these guys time to get lighter. He wanted to give these guys time to get lighter and drop a little weight so they could see if they were system fits. That's why he made that statement, because gap power requires offensive linemen to be a little bit more mobile, pulling bodies across the sides, each side of the formation, to give yourself a numbers advantage on the other side. That's why I believe Ryan Poles said that. He said we were changing up the styles. The style was we were zone dominant under Nagy, and I believe that we're going to a gap power scheme, a la Kyle Shanahan Jr., not Big Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, who runs a lot of outside zone. Kyle runs power gap. Hope we clear on that. And it makes sense why Cody Whitehair stays in place, right? And some of the other offensive linemen stay in place because Cody actually, body type-wise, is a better fit for the scheme. Now, whether he's going to be able to execute or not, I don't know. But he is about 6'3", 6'4", barely 300 pounds, a little bit over 300 pounds, 305, right? That lends itself to being able to pull your guard across the back of the formation. I also said that we needed a stout center, right? That Brian Allen wasn't a fit for a gap power scheme because Brian Allen was too light to hold up at the center. Now, you may say, hold up, Coach T. You just said that the offensive lineman needed to be light and lean. Yes, however, your center needs to be a little bit more sturdy because your center is the central point of focus when you're pulling guards and tackles behind him to give yourself a numbers advantage in a gap power scheme. What do you mean, Coach T? That center has to hold at the point of attack and even get movement at the point of attack to allow those big bodies to flow behind him and pull to the other side of the formation. You can't have a light guy like Brian Allen doing that. So everything so far, with the exception of Ryan Jensen, right? All of my takes are still in play. I like Ryan Jensen because I thought Ryan Jensen was the alpha of the free agent centers that fit a gap power scheme. However, he re-signed with his former team. Tom Brady ruined it all for us all. He ruined it for us all. So all of my takes are still in play, right? We still need a gap power center, right? I still think we need a pulling type guard. Zion Johnson fits the criteria. He's going to be available at pick 39, I believe, or 48 of the NFL draft, right? So the Bears may have their eyes on him, along with my other takes. My other takes are still in play. I didn't expect the Bears to go hard at the wide receiver position because we have a wide receiver, cornerback, dominant draft, right? And when I say that, I don't mean we just have a cornerback, wide receiver, dominant draft in the first round. I've said it repeatedly. The sweet spot for this draft where you can get some stud key pieces, some guys that can play football, is in between spots 50 and 100. There's a lot of players in spots 50 to 100. So there you have it. That's the catch you up. I just wanted to rub it in. Coach T's, all of my takes are still in play for the most part. Shout out to Ryan Jensen to re-sign with the Bucs. I wanted him, but we still have an opportunity to get Brad Bozeman, right? And I expect us to go after Zion Johnson in the draft at either pick 39, 48, or trading back to grab him on a steal. But I don't think he's going to be there in those 50s if we trade back. So if I would expect us to, if we're going to trade back only one of those picks to get back in the 50s, you're going to get a 2-for-1 deal. So basically draft Zion with number 39, trade 48 back to the 50s, and then you get 2-for-1. Then you'll have 3 picks. You have 3 picks between rounds 2 and 3. You'll have 4 or 3, and you're going to get some key pieces in that, right? So I got to give myself a portion of the Drunk Uncle Award because I didn't load up a graphic for him. But the one good news is we did sign Larry Ogunjobi, right? Defensive tackle, right? A lot of people like throw out 3 technique, but the film is going to show you he plays all over the place in a 4-3 defense, right? So I went through the process of going through the All-22, grabbing some of that footage for you and breaking it down on what we can expect from our new defensive tackle. I'll give you my thoughts as we make our way through the videos. But before we do that, y'all know the vibes here at Chicago Bears 360. I got to give a shout out to, y'all know who they are. I got to give a shout out to who? Y'all know who they are. We got to give a shout out to our Field Soldiers. Got to give a shout out to the Field Soldiers. Let's get into it. Milton Chisholm. Shout out to you, my boy. Anthony Franklin. Vincent 555. Michael Horton. And Mr. Ainright. I called you out the last show. Hey, if you want to be a part of Field Soldiers, do me a favor. You watching this live on the playback, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Chicago Bears 360. We focus on the X's and O's here, right? I can't tell you what those other Bears channels do, right? I have a few of them that I watch, I pay attention to. But our niche here is the X's and O's. We like to focus on the X's and O's, which we're about to do. We're going to get into this Larry Ogunjobi All-22 breakdown. I hope y'all appreciate it. I have 3 different sections of it. So hang out here with me, and we're going to discuss. I'll be commenting as the videos are playing or answer questions in the chat. But let's get into it. Let's get into this first clip. So the first thing I'm gonna do before we get into this footage is kind of bring some clarity to what a 3 technique is, or what the various positions on the defensive line is, right? So head up with the center, that's the 0, right? 0. Inside of the guard is 1, that's on both sides, right? So that's a 1 as well. Head up on the guard is 2, outside eye of the guard is 3. Outside eye of the guard is 3. So these guys here and Larry Ogunjobi here would be in the 3 technique. Now, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna see Larry lined up in both 3 technique, and you're gonna see at times, mostly pass rushing downs, he's gonna be lined up in a 1 technique as well. So they used him in Cincinnati in both positions, right? So the first thing you're gonna see about Larry is his get off. And we're paying attention to Larry in the 3 technique right here, right? And his get off, the way he gets off the ball, watch the snap of the ball, almost simultaneously getting off the ball, clear this up, and then his ability to use his hands, right? First of all, you gotta understand his assignment also in a 4-3 defense. His assignment and his responsibility is gap penetration, right? Gap control and penetration. So he has this gap along with this 3 technique right here. He has this gap, and then the 1 technique is going to be in gap control, controlling 2 gaps here, right? In this particular shade of the defense, right? So clear this up, undo it here. Just get back to Larry. Focus on his get off, how he gets off the ball. Again, almost simultaneously on the snap. I think, at times watching the film, he can get lured to sleep a little bit, but he has a get off. And then his ability to use his hands, right? And position his hands, right? Get his hands on the guard before the guard gets his hands on him, right? So he can set up his second move. And a lot of times with these defensive linemen, it's not their first move. If you catch his hands right there, he has control. He has controls first. It's not his first move, but it's his second move. So he has control, hands on him first. Now he's going to come over with some kind of rip or power technique to get the guard's hands off of him. So he got a post and pull, a post and push, right? A post and rip. There you go. Post and rip. So you see his hands right there. He's going to post. He's going to post with the inside arm and rip or push with his outside. All about that fighting or hand control, right? That's a pretty good move. He doesn't necessarily get it clean and clear, but you can see he gets penetration on the quarterback. One thing I failed to mention with the 4-3 is usually the 3 technique is going to be aligned to the strength of the formation. So if I'm looking at this formation from the defensive side, right, it's a strong left, which is from this angle right. So this is going to be the strength of the formation is going to be on this side right here. So you'll hear some kind of left call, Larry. You see the guys pointing, right? They're pointing for a reason, right? That's to show the strength of the formation, right? So you're going to hear some kind of Larry, right? Or if it was strong right, it would be like Raider. Anything starting with R or L to indicate the strength of the formation. And what that does is it tells the three technique what side to line up on. So if you see right here, your three technique is actually not necessarily in the three technique. He's like in a four or five technique on the tackle, right? Inside eye, so inside four technique here, but they're going to be shaded outward. The 3 or 4 technique is always going to be to the strength of your formation, and then the 1 technique is going to be on the backside. And I believe this right here is a play where Larry is playing, or the 1 technique, right? So the 1 technique is going to have that A gap responsibility, right? His responsibility is going to be right here. He's going to have gap control, A gap, penetrate, and cause disruption. The thing about a 4-3 defense versus a 3-4 defense, 4-3 is about gap control and penetration. 3-4, the interior defensive linemen normally do more read and react defense. So we can take a look at the play. We can see how Larry does right here. I believe this is him. Cincinnati rotates their defensive linemen a lot. So again, he sets up his move with a little bit of shake. Give him a little crossover right there. Again, post and rip. Didn't get exactly what he wanted, but he still got some pushback in the pocket and just causing that pocket to be uncomfortable in the middle right. Now here's a great example of Larry in a 0-1 technique, right? He's just coming off the ball. Now it's an obvious pass rushing down. Now you get to witness his pass rushing move, right? So here it is, obvious 3rd and long or something. And now we get to witness the repertoire of his pass move. So the idea is, again, to get your best defensive lineman matched up against kind of weaknesses in the defense and allow them to do what they do. And again, I always already complimented his ability to get off the ball. Of course, he's right over the center, so he should be getting off the ball, but watch how he uses his hands. He's on the center first, right? Gets inside leverage with his hand. He's posting with that right hand. I see one of his favorite moves is post with the right hand, and he's going to come back and work with that left hand. He's either going to rip over the top or rip underneath with that left hand. I can't quite see what happens. Looks like he comes underneath with like a uppercut, right? And right in the quarterback's face as the ball is being released. Good. This is good film. This is good technique, good film. As long as you can push the pocket in the middle, collapse the pocket in the middle, and cause disruption in the passing lane, it's gonna help the overall defense. Now, some teams are hybrid teams. They don't necessarily run specifically or exclusively a 4-3. They run a 3-4 and 4-3. For example, the last team that I coached on, they had a black and silver based defense, right? Black was 4-3, silver was 3-4, right? So if you notice the personnel here, Cincinnati's actually lined up in a 3-4 defense, right? And this is how you stereotypically or typically run a 3-4. You're gonna have your 3 big body interior offensive linemen in there, right? Hogging up space and eating up blocks, and you're gonna have your linebackers 1, 2, 3, 4, and I believe this is actually a nickel corner or safety, like in that linebacker spot or a hybrid spot. This is how you play your 3-4. So again, with this defense, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a nose, right? You're gonna shade your one of your defensive 3-4 defensive end to the strength of the formation, right? And then you're gonna have your backside guy playing a little bit, in the gap on the backside to make sure every gap is covered, right? So this guy has contain, this guy has this gap, this guy has both gap control, both gaps right here, right? You're trying to control gaps. So these linebackers back here, these guys back here can just flow and make plays, right? You just want guys back there to play, flow and make plays in the 3-4 versus the 4-3. You want the defensive lineman, you want everybody in the gap making plays. So if we run the play here, you're going to see we're filling gaps, and people are stepping to their gap responsibility on the snap of the ball, right? So first step, you see this guy has here, this guy in this gap, Larry's here. This linebacker has this gap right here, right? This linebacker here is going to have flow. Everything flowing to the ball. He has backside contain. This guy has flow to the ball, right? Clear this up. And if everybody takes care of the gap responsibility, you're going to make a play. In this case, you're going to see that Larry's technically sound, right? Watch how he controls his gap. And your gap is not static, it's dynamic. So your gap moves with the players, right? So snap of the ball, you see the guard and the tackle move, that's still his gap, right? This space right here remains his gap for the duration of the play. He has to control that gap. So let's see how he does his job. He stays in his gap, trails backside, cuts off the cutback, the running back cutback, and makes the play. That's a good play. So here Larry is lined up in a different spot, right? In a different spot. I want you to guess what that technique is called. If this is 0, right? That's 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? He's in a different position now. Now he's lined up against a tackle. And this speaks to his versatility right here, right? And you're not going to make every play as a defensive lineman, but again, if you take gap responsibility and see what the individual players, what their gaps may be in this particular defense or this particular alignment, this guy's going to have contain. He has control this gap right here. As long as it moves, right, nothing comes through that gap, right? So evaluate how he does his job based off of this alignment, right? So you have Larry right here. Watch him, see if he does his job. He wants to control his gap and then force everything back to the inside. Defense is like a beautiful concert, right? Everybody has to do their job, control their gap to prevent big plays, right? So he gets off the ball. He has to get his head around to the right position. Watch the strength. He pushes the tackle back into the backfield and helps turn everything back to the inside. He has a strong post arm. I like that. There you have it. That's the first clip of your boy, Larry Ogunjobi. Do me a favor, man, if you like the breakdowns. I see you in the comments, Adam. No problem, man. That's what we here for, bro. I'm here to bring you those X's and O's again, right? You can debate a lot of things. You can debate philosophy, theory, all this other stuff. But when you throw on that tape, everything's revealed. So do me a favor. If you like the breakdown, you like that cut up, do me a favor, man. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, man. You can always follow me on Twitter at Bears360_Coach T, man. I love communicating. I love chiming in. I love tweeting about Bears football, right? I love, debating in the tweet, but I'm always going to resort to those X's and O's. As you can see, your boy Larry can play, can't he? He has moves, right? And as I was going through the tape, right, I was trying to compare Larry to somebody. I was trying to compare Larry's style of play to somebody. And I'm not one for a bunch of hyperbole. I'm not one for a whole bunch of hype, right? I'm not one to pass out and hand out a bunch of hype. So I'll give you a low end and high end, right? My first impression of Larry Ogunjobi is the dude can play. He has moved. He's strong. He's powerful. He's quick. If you've seen his body, you understand that he's a gym rat. He's one of those guys that you don't have to tell to take care of his body and get in the gym, right? So he's quick, he's powerful, he's strong. Everything you need to be an interior defensive lineman in a 4-3 system. I didn't call it a 3 technique because, as you can see, they in Cincinnati moved him around in 1 technique, 3 technique. He lined up head up on the center in a 0 technique. He lined up all over the interior defensive line, and the idea was to get him an advantage versus the offensive line. So you can see, you know, the dude can play. Now, I got 2 more clips for you, and there's going to be some highlight clips in this. So if you have some questions, do me a favor, man. Shout out the question, add the question to the comments or to the chat, and I'll get to them during the clip. But while y'all in the comments, do me a favor, man. Run those likes up. Let's run this algorithm up so we can get as many people enjoying this All-22 breakdown of Larry Ogunjobi the way you guys are. Everybody in Bears Nation want to see what we got in this guy. I think it's a good signing. He's a good, sturdy piece. He's an above-average football player, and I believe you're going to see that in this next clip. So without further ado, let's jump into it. This play again, we got Larry lined up at 0-1 technique here. And I just want you to watch as he manhandles the center right here. It doesn't take a whole lot of commentary right here. This is a highlight play right here. Just hands on him first, right? Post is with it. He likes to post with that right hand. So he posts with that right hand basically to create that distance and separation to keep the center off of him. And watch as he just walks him back into the quarterback's lap. Right here, he's just eating his lunch. Post. Once he gets leverage and gets movement after the post move, he just walks the center, gets him off his feet. And if you didn't know him better, they would think that was Sam Mustipher. This is crazy. Walks him right into the center, almost gets a safety right there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your new 3 technique, 1 technique. Let's just call him a defensive lineman at this point. We've seen him in every technique so far in this video. You know, a lot of fuss have been made about Larry Ogunjobi in 3 technique, but I think he's been, so far I've seen him, he's been more effective in a 1 technique than he is a 3 in the film that I watched. This is only 1 game, but he just dominates centers. Like he's so quick off the ball. He has such good leverage, right? He's you know, he's posting and ripping, or posting and clubbing past centers before. Granted, this is, you know, this is a screen, so take it for what it's worth. But, you know, I mean, the dude is getting busy at the 1 technique. Trying to slow this down a little bit. It's more footage. You know, it's not my job to tell a pro how to do his job, but here's your boy Larry right here. And watch and see if you see a familiar technique right here when he comes off the ball, right? What he does well. A lot of times he likes to post with that left hand, and he's either gonna come underneath, or he's gonna come over top with some kind of chop with that right hand to get the offensive lineman's hands off of him, as he did right there, right? And then he's just gonna make his way to the quarterback from there. That's a plethora of pass rush moves you can use. I've seen this move probably already 4 or 5 times in a little bit of time we've been watching film, so you probably want to see him add to that. Of course, he has gap control, so he can't do nothing too crazy, spin moves and stuff like that. His first responsibility is play to run and gap control. But then he has to, you know, be creative. That's not how he uses his speed and strength to get to the quarterback. Here you have another highlight film play right here. Just, you know, keep in mind this is the first game of the season, and you got Larry right here. Let's call that a 1 technique, right? Again, they move them all over the place, so you know the versatility is one thing that stands out. But when you can put a guy in a 1 technique like his, and remember the difference between 4-3 And 3-4 is gap penetration. And this is what I'm talking about. Defensive linemen can play and make plays in this defense, right? So watch him here in the 1. Watch how he gets off of the ball and makes a play in the backfield, right? You got a guy pulling across the formation. This is the tight end right here. He's just disrupt this whole play. And this play is a gap power scheme. It's meant to move bodies from this side of the line of scrimmage to that side, right? So you can get numbers. And this is exactly how you defeat gap power. You get in the gap and you just become disruptive, right? Look at that. It's your boy right there, 2-on-1, beating both blocks to the gap. Now, he's gonna knock whoever this pulling guy, tight end, off of his responsibility, right? Now he's disrupted the play. He's got in the backfield. Now he's disrupted the whole play, the whole concept. And he's gonna make the play in the backfield. That's a great job. Another highlight play right here. You got Larry out here in a, what is this? 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's call it a 4 technique, somewhere out here. It's not a 3 technique. It's a wide 3, something like that. 4. Anyway, you know, Larry's out here. This is him being on the outside. Either you've seen it, whether he's on the inside guy against a center guard or tackle, he's beating everybody, right? Clear this up. He goes with an outside move, post. He loves that move. Now this time, first time I've seen him post with the right hand and come back. Okay, he posts with the right hand and then he comes back with a straight bull rush out for the post. And watch him, this is just a power and explosion drive the offensive tackle straight into Kirk Cousins' lap. And basically the assist with the sack right there. All right, so he plays outside leverage, steps to the outside, posts with the inside, the right hand, comes back. So he can play, he's like ambidextrous with his pass moves, right? Because I've seen him post with the left arm. Now he comes back and posts with the right and then goes straight into a bull rush off of the post and gets the assist on the sack. All right, I can't show all the highlights without showing some of the not so great stuff. So here you got Larry in, let's call it a 1 technique. So he tries to do a 2-hand swipe right here on the guard, try and window wash him right there hit him with the window washers and whiffs on it, right? So if you know what I'm saying, you shoot your move, right? And you have to mix it up. You shoot your move, but if you miss, you know, you're going to get owned by these big NFL guards and tackles, right? So here he tried to windshield wiper move, 2-hand swipe, boom, misses. You see the guard plays him. He plays him. He goes with him. He swipes with him. Then he comes back, gets inside leverage on him. And at this point, he just owns him. You know, his best move is that post and rip, or post and that post and chop, post and rip. So far, but this one right here, that ain't it. And there you have it, gang. That's the second clip. That's your boy Larry Ogunjobi. You see him making plays right there, using his hands, right? He has that post rip, post chop move down, and he seems like he executes it with both hands, right? So he'll post with the right or left hand, and then he'll come back with the opposite hand with either a rip move or a chop move. He comes over the top with the chop or the rip. He has that move down, but I also have to show you that clip right there where he whiffed with the 2-hand swipe. But you have to have a plethora of moves at the pass rush, you know, in the pass rush game, kind of like your boy out in L.A., man. You got to have a plethora of moves. And I didn't really want to say it, right? I didn't want to be that guy. Again, I'm not big on hyperbole. I think this is me. The way that Larry takes care of his body, and, you know, his build, how quick he is, how powerful he is. I believe his ceiling, he can be Pro Bowl. He could be a Pro Bowl player, right? Year in and year out. That could be his ceiling. I don't want to throw a name out there because I just don't want the crazies going crazy. But I'll say this. I believe he can be a Pro Bowl player year in and year out in this defense in a 4-3. The low end of what he can be is if he doesn't take care of his body, right? If he doesn't just get better, and when I say get better, what he needs to get better at is not necessarily his technique, not being stronger, quicker, faster, anything else. I just, as I'm watching the film with Cincinnati, I realized they rotate a lot of defensive linemen. And, once the play count gets up there, you know what I'm saying, he'll have a play or two where he doesn't have that same level of intensity. And when you talk about the Bears, you talk about the new coaching staff, you talk about Coach Flu, you know about the HITS principle, right? Intensity is one of them, right? The hustle is the main thing, and that intensity is one of them, right? So, to have a coach that's going to grade you play in and play out on your ability to hustle and be intense, right, and bring it every play, that level of accountability. But I think what the Bears need to do is make sure that we have a nice rotation of interior and exterior defensive linemen to keep him fresh. So on those third and longs, those obvious pass downs, that he can get in there and do his thing, right? So I'm going to take a break here. I got one more clip of film of Larry. But before I do that, man, y'all know how we do it. Y'all know when we hit the comment section where it goes down. Where it go down at? It go down in the...
It goes down in the film. It go down in the...
All right, that's enough of that. Y'all know I can't hit too long of that kind of intro because YouTube going to flag me for that song. And ain't nobody got time for that. But we want to, hit the chat real fast. Get some of your comments. Highlight them on the show before we move on to the next segment. And see what the chat got to say. My man Rock Davis says, yo, Coach T, that's a nice piece, dude. First step is a monster. And I love the Blackhawks hat you got on, Coach. Appreciate the love. Yeah, that's my Blackhawks swag, right? But yeah, Larry's first step is a monster. When he wants to impose his will, when he wants to be that guy, he can take over games. And that's why I say the guy has Pro Bowl potential. He can be a Pro Bowler year in and year out, right? Nobody can get in Larry Ogunjobi's way except for Larry Ogunjobi. He's just that good. All right. Next comment in the comment section, your boy Oliver Carter says, is Tonga good with, or do we need someone else? Two things can be right. Oliver, two things can be right. Tonga is good. Tonga is going to be a nice piece. He's going to be a one technique. Tonga, in this defense, I believe Tonga is going to be required to come into training camp a lot lighter and a lot leaner, right? Because we need several defensive linemen, and he's primarily going to be probably a one technique if he doesn't come into camp a lot lighter and a lot leaner, right? He has the potential. But remember, if you think about the New York Giants team that toppled Tom Brady's New England team on their way to being undefeated, that team, what made that team hard to deal with is they had a rotation of defensive linemen that kept those guys fresh. And we're going to have to go at least 6 or 7 deep in the defensive line to have an effective, consistent pass rush and to be able to play, 48 minutes, football for 48 minutes at this level. Like, we're going to have to go, 6, 7 guys deep in order for us to keep our guys fresh and everybody to be effective. So I believe Tonga's going to be a good piece, but I also believe, Flu and Allen Williamson are going to require him to come in to training camp a lot lighter than he did under Nagy's reign. All right. Your man Adam Dobbs says, thanks for the breakdown, Coach T. Simple comment. Adam, I got you, my man. I got you. That's what we here for, bro. That's what we here for. Do me a favor, man. If you like the film breakdown, if you like my style of commentary, man, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, man. Follow me on Twitter at Bears360_Coach T, man. This is a labor of love, man. I love football, right? I got guys in the league. I'm not going to throw no names out there. I think it's kind of corny. I'm actually working on something. One is a name that could potentially land with the Chicago Bears. And if he does, I'm in his DMs because I don't have his direct number. Somebody else used to coach in high school. Trying to get him on the show as my first guest. So y'all send good energy that we make that happen. These NFL players, you know what I'm saying? Whether you coach them or not, bro, they busy. They got lives, they got family, they got wives now. I don't want to be talking to old coaches unless you put their names in the stadium they used to play at or something. Anyway, man, let's get this last film breakdown out the way. And we're going to talk Larry Ogunjobi. We're going to talk drunk uncles, and we're going to get out of here. Let's go. Now, this play right here, Cincinnati goes with a 3-man rush. So they're going to have 8 men in coverage. And you do that sometimes to throw off the quarterback. You want to flood the zones of the defensive backfield, right? Just to throw the quarterback off, have them seeing ghosts out here. But it's important to see, you know, how the defensive linemen do in this situation because they're definitely going to be facing double and triple teams. So in this case, you're going to see Larry get triple team. In some cases, comes off the ball, right? Guard comes through. Can he still get penetration on triple teams? Look at this. It's already going to be hard for a quarterback to see the window. But if you have a guy that can get penetration on a 3-man rush, then it's going to make life living hell for your quarterback. And Kirk almost throws the interception right here. Another highlight play right here by Larry. Again, he's in outside technique. Let's call it a 3 right here, right? And I'm just not counting the gaps because I'm just tired at this point. But watch him control his gap. He has this gap throughout the duration of the play. And watch him run his gap, bulling and China shot all the way to make the play on the ball. This is excellent gap control, penetration, right? He's not getting moved off the point of contact or off the ball. You see that he's running straight down the line of scrimmage and just helping to disrupt the whole play. Conversely, he comes back on the second play here and kind of fixes a little bit, right? So he gets gap penetration right here, controls his gap, gets up in there, kind of gets knocked into the gap, if you will, gets his hands on the guy, but he steps in the gap, although he's off balance, steps in the gap and makes the play. Steps in the gap, makes the play, follows the play to the ball, tackle for loss. Again, I have to show the good or not so good with the bad too, right? So remember I talked about gap control. So you got Larry right here. He has to control his gap throughout the end of the play in his defense, right? So watch as he runs down the line of scrimmage. And one thing you don't really want to do as a defensive lineman is get your shoulder pads turned where you're facing the sideline, right? Because you create lanes. You create lanes for running backs, right? You got a lane right here and right there. You see as he turns his shoulder pads facing the sideline, he creates a lane for the running back. Whereas if he was sliding down this line with his shoulder pads a little bit more, let me clear this up. I like red for my team. If he's running with his shoulder pads facing the end zones, right, he kind of shuts the door. Right, he shuts the door on his gap. Same thing with his partner on the backside right here. Y'all got to shut off those doors for the cutback lane. So this is one of the ones where he gets two, let's call it parallel to the sideline, right? And he creates this cutback lane for the running back. course, the man defensive end on the backside gets beat and doesn't go for a huge play, but, you know, it's a gap nonetheless. And I wanted to highlight here how football is a team sport, especially a defensive game, right? So Larry's here, and it looks like this is Larry's fault, but it's not. Larry does his job. He has this gap out here, so he tries to swim to his lane, but watch this linebacker right here. Larry does his job, but watch this linebacker right here, how it just messes up the whole defense because he's got his eyes in the wrong place. So Larry kind of swims to his lane, right, outside of the guard, gets to his lane, jumps into the B gap, boom. This linebacker get himself tied up with the center. He has to shoot his gun right now. If he shoots his gun right now, gives this guy a dip, a shoulder dip move, and gets in here, and also this guy right here. He has to shoot his gun right now, but he's probably preoccupied or has his eyes preoccupied with this fly motion. And that's why you do that, right? If you give guys eye candy, fly motions and stuff like that on an inside-outside zone read, and it's probably what happened to the linebacker here. He's worried about fly motion, so he gets his eyes worried about the fly motion instead of taking care of his primary responsibility. He gets compromised, and the center gets to him, right? Leaves the gap open, and they rip off a little bit of a run right there. There you have that last clip, man. I hope y'all enjoyed that, bro. That's the last clip of it. I won't torture you with any more Larry Ogunjobi tape, man. But y'all see, the dude can play. The dude can play. The name recognition might not be there, and I believe that's kind of what throws a lot of Bears fans off. But the dude can play, right? If you turn on the film, this is the purpose of the All-22. This is the purpose of why Coach T exists on YouTube, right? Because there's so many people debating out there in Twitter land, in the Twitter sphere, Facebook land, right? We're trying to get y'all live on Instagram and trying to get hype on Instagram too. But the reason why there's so much debate out there is because people can't turn on the film and they don't know what they do, what they're looking at when they do turn on the film. That's why your boy Coach T is here, right? Because I don't like to debate, especially when it's something as factual and concrete as football. When you cut on the tape, right, the field is 120 yards long and 53 1/3 yards wide, played with 11 people on each side of the ball. There's nothing more absolute outside of the occasional conspiracy theory than football. If you cut on the tape, you can find out what's what. And that's what I love about the game, right? Let's get back in these comments, man. Y'all know I got to do it. Hunter Williams says, man, love the breakdown. I try not to overreact with the Twitter sphere. I can see the importance of a 3 technique, 1 technique, 5. That's it, Hunter. In a nutshell, that's what it's all about, right? You can't have 5 guys, 6 guys on a defense or on a team out here just making, everybody can't be the guy. And see, here's the thing that comes into play with a lot of offensive and defensive linemen. People just think offensive, and I tweeted this earlier, people think offensive and defensive lineman is just big and nasty. And that's all you got to be an offensive and defensive lineman. If it was that simple, everybody would be one. Everybody that's big and has an attitude problem would be an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. But no, these guys have to have several pass rush moves. Several. They have to have a library of pass rush moves. Offensive and offensive lineman has to have counters to every move, right? You saw I posted the highlight of Ogunjobi with his post, rip, post, chop, move. That's one of his go-tos, right? So offensive linemen have to have counters to that, right? He tried to double swipe that didn't work, right? It didn't work because the offensive lineman was set and prepared for the swipe. He whiffed him on the swipe and got into his center place into his chest plate and got the block, right? So, and then here's the other thing, right? The 4-3 defense is a gap penetration defense, meaning you want your front four to get in the backfield and make plays. A 3-4 defense is a gap control defense where your 3 interior defensive linemen, they stand their guys up, right? And they react. They read and react to where the ball's going. And the intention for the 3-4 defense is for the linebackers behind them to make plays. The 4 linebackers, the outside linebackers, inside linebackers, for them to take advantage of those bigger bodies on the inside and flow to the ball and make plays. Where on this defense, they want your defensive linemen leaner and quicker, and they want them to penetrate gaps and become disruptors. And so you have to ask yourself the question, if this guy, not is it a name that you recognize, but you have to ask yourself, does this guy do his job? Right? That's what you want to ask yourself. All right, Rock Davis, yo, coach, you might want to say, you might don't want to say who he reminds you of, but he reminds me of Tommy Harrison. That would be a fair comparison. That would be a fair comparison. He's a lot, I think he might be a lot quicker and stronger and compact than Tommy. I think Tommy was a little bit bigger than he is. But Tommy nonetheless made plays. He made plays in that 4-3 defense of Lovey kind of the same way. But I believe Larry has a chance to be a little bit better than Tommy just because of his build. He's built like that bowling ball. He's just all muscle, right? If you look at some of his pictures, he in the weight room and he's squatting too. His lower half of his body, like he has a nice base to play interior defensive lineman in a 4-3, right? And he has just crazy quick. It's just a matter of what pieces we put around him that we have a nice complement of guys, right? So I'm going to keep getting to the comments before we already showed the last clip. What's this last comment? Paul Clark. Paul says, Bears sitting on their hands again. Seems like they're interested in mediocre players, mediocre plays, and mediocre something. I don't know if I could agree with you right there, Paul, and I'll tell you why, right? When you're changing, Ryan and Matt have Eberflus, not the other Matt Ryan, right? General Pose and Coach Flu, let's call him that. They have quite a bit on their hands, right? They're changing systems, right? They're changing the offense and they're changing the defense. They're going from a 3-4 to 4-3. I know that probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but I just described the difference. Your 3-4 interior defensive linemen are space eaters. They're bigger guys. They have to control a couple gaps in that defense and allow the 4 linebackers to flow and make plays. Whereas this defense is going to be a lot leaner, a lot quicker, and a lot faster. They're going to be able to run to the ball and make plays. We should get 7 and 8 hats and hands on the ball carrier every play because this defense should be lean and quick and fast, right? They should be, a little bit different than that. So the other part that we have to keep in mind when you're transitioning systems, you don't go for the big names first, especially with the cap trouble that we were in or the cap trouble that Ryan Poles inherited, right? You can't go out there. He had to reconstruct the salary cap to be able to sign players that fit the system. And it's not popular, right? There's a lot of names that's going to hit, free agency, the Twitter sphere that Bears are going to associate as a good fit, a good scheme fit. I hate the word scheme, by the way. A good scheme fit. You're going to see that tweeted, right, 1,000,000 times, right? This will be a good scheme fit for the Bears when we actually have no idea what the system, or most don't have an idea of what the system entails, right? We need a 3 technique. We need a 1 technique. We need diversity, guys that can play both a 3 and 1 technique. As you can see with Larry, he lined up in 0 techniques. He lined up in 2, 4, 3, anywhere in the interior defensive line that the Bengals wanted to use him, and he could. You need guys like that, right? But you need a rotation of guys. You need ends that can rush the passer. You need interior guys that can rush the passer. So what I've been saying on Twitter is I expect Ryan to fill the roster with guys that can do the job and some of the guys that can do the job just above average. Over this season they're trying to establish a culture and they're trying to get system fits, right? Once they find their guys that they know that can play, right? They know they can play, that's going to play hard, that's going to buy into the hit system, right? And on the back end, what Ryan's doing is clearing all his cap room for 2023, where what you do is you do like the great teams, right? You move the line slowly, a little bit at a time, up and up to a championship level, right? You get system fits, you get good players, you get good character players, you get good leaders, you get a good locker room, and you slowly raise the tide, right? Raise the standard till you get to you're about 1 or 2 players away or 2 or 3 players away. Then you start overspending in free agency and you get your 2 or 3 guys that put you over the edge and that make you a Super Bowl champion, right? Right? Outside of the 3 stars on any major Super Bowl winning team, right? Name me the 4th and 5th guy. Name me the 4th and 5th guy. Outside of, Stafford, OBJ, Aaron Donald, right? Jalen Ramsey. Just like McVay said, and I tweet this quote all the time. McVay said you only have about 4 to 8 guys on your team that's just dogs. The rest of the guys are guys that are assignment guys that do their jobs, right? Right. So before I jump too far into that, man, I got to give somebody the Drunk Uncle Award for the week. Let's jump into it. Yeah, this is an easy one for me. The Drunk Uncles for this week, man, goes to everybody that's being impatient, bro. Right? I get it. Everybody, I get it. You're getting jealous. You're watching everybody go out there and shop big names. Look at Jaguars. They out there spending money like, it grows on trees, bro. They spending money like we not in a recession. They're going all in on that offense with Trevor Lawrence. They're swiping and moving money from the defense to the offense. They released Miles Jack? Come on, man. They're mortgaging everything on Trevor Lawrence. And you can take that approach. And they may win. They may win some ball games this coming up year. But my question is, what's going to be the long-term sustainability of that success when you're just divvying out money? And you're not. And the thing about the Jags is they're not even giving out money to dudes. They're not giving out money to guys that's just unstoppable. They giving out money to guys in this free agency market where if it were another free agency market, they probably wouldn't be getting these checks like that. So, you know what I'm saying? You can build slow, right? You can cut twice. You can measure twice and cut once. Or you can just cut up everything, throw, caution to the wind, and, please the fan base. So again, I expect us to get guys. They're not gonna be your name brand cereal. They're gonna be store brand. The black and white box that just says cereal, right? They're not gonna be store brand cereal. They're not gonna be the name brand guys. They're gonna get guys that sturdy, stout, good pieces, right? I expect us to get one guy with pick 39 and pull back or trade back and get some of these studs, picks 50 through 100 in the draft, and we're going to find out that we drafted some studs. That's what I expect us to do. But I still got my eye on a center, a veteran center, hopefully that we can bring in to sturdy up the middle and draft a guard. That's what I expect us to do. That's the show for you today, man. We've been on for over an hour, man. Appreciate you joining. Hope you like the Larry Ogunjobi All-22 breakdown, man. It's my pleasure, Coach T, to bring it to me. Do me a favor. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter, man. Bears360 _ Coach T. Man, that's it for the show, man. We out. Appreciate y'all.